Story 1. The unexpected visitor. It was New Year's Eve, and Alex had entrusted his friend, a 35-year-old man, to watch his dog Bailey for the weekend. Bailey, a small husky mix about a third the size of a regular husky, was known for her quiet and well-behaved nature. Alex was heading to the city for a night of revelry, while his friend opted for a more low-key night, happy to earn a little money while taking it easy. Alex left early Saturday morning, providing simple instructions: feed Bailey, walk her twice a day, and keep her off the furniture. The plan was straightforward. Alex's friend arrived at his house with a backpack containing essentials, a laptop, toiletries, and a change of clothes. Though they weren't lifelong friends, the two had become closer through mutual connections and occasional weekend outings. Alex's confidence in his friend stemmed from Bailey's easygoing temperament and the simplicity of the task. The day passed uneventfully. Bailey followed him around as he alternated between using his laptop and playing some of Alex's video games. Later in the evening, with Alex's permission, his girlfriend Trisha planned to come over after work. She wouldn't arrive until after midnight, so he killed time watching movies with Bailey curled up at his feet. Around 9:00 p.m., the doorbell rang. Curious, he got up to answer, finding a woman who looked to be in her early 30s standing on the porch. She was dressed in a hoodie and holding a jacket. She introduced herself as Alex's girlfriend, claiming she needed to grab something she had left in his room. Caught off guard, he hesitated but ultimately let her in. Offering to retrieve the item for her, she declined, saying she knew exactly where it was. She went upstairs, leaving the door to Alex's bedroom slightly ajar. Thinking little of it, he resumed his spot on the couch but texted Alex out of curiosity. "I didn't know you had a girlfriend. She's here grabbing something." Minutes turned into nearly 20, and the woman still hadn't come downstairs. He grew uneasy but assumed she might have been looking for something specific. Eventually, she reappeared, still holding her jacket, and thanked him as she made her way to the door. Attempting small talk, he asked how long they'd been dating. She replied with a short laugh, "Too long," before saying goodnight and leaving. While her demeanor seemed off, he didn't suspect anything outright malicious. After all, relationships can be complicated. When Alex finally called back, the response was immediate panic. Alex yelled over the phone, "I don't have a girlfriend. What did she look like? What did she do?" Stammering through the details, Alex instructed him to check his room to see if anything was missing. But how could he know what to look for? He followed Alex's instructions to search for specific items, all of which seemed to be in place. Alex grew silent, then finally said, "I'll figure it out. Just stay alert. And if she comes back, don't let her in." As midnight approached, Trisha arrived, and the mood lightened slightly. Sharing what happened, Trisha was shocked, but before they could dwell too long, there was a knock at the door. Bailey's ears perked up, and she stood at attention. This time, neither of them answered. They stayed quiet as the knocks continued, then stopped. Trisha whispered, "What if it's her again?" He texted Alex, but there was no response. Whoever was at the door eventually left, but the sense of unease lingered. After retiring to the spare bedroom, they fell asleep on the futon with Bailey at their feet. Less than an hour later, they were woken by Bailey's howling. She stood at the door, tail wagging but growling softly, her ears alert. Then came the unmistakable sound of footsteps outside, followed by the door handle twisting. A woman's voice called out, "Alex?" Terrified, they stayed silent until the voice called in by Bailey's howling. She stood at the door, tail wagging but growling softly, her ears alert. Then came the unmistakable sound of footsteps outside, followed by the door handle twisting. A woman's voice called out, "Alex?" Terrified, they stayed silent until the voice called again, more assertively, "Who's in there? This is Alex's house." Panicking, he shouted back, "The cops have been on their way for 10 minutes." The woman whispered something inaudible, and multiple footsteps retreated from the door. Trisha called the police, whispering the entire time. When officers arrived, they searched the house, finding no one but confirming that the front door had been left wide open. Alex, still intoxicated, eventually answered the officers' questions over the phone. The girl, whoever she was, had stolen a key from his room earlier, giving her access to the house. When Alex returned home the next morning, he revealed a darker backstory. The woman, it turned out, was a former fling who had become obsessive and manipulative. Police believed she hadn't broken in to steal anything, but instead had other sinister intentions, perhaps involving him. The locks were changed immediately, but the incident left everyone shaken. For now, over a year later, the memory of that night lingers. Story 2. The Hallway Apparition. It was New Year's Eve, and after a night of modest celebration, a married couple returned to their luxury apartment building, looking forward to resting their feet and finally winding down. They lived on the penthouse floor of the building, a corner suite with limited access that offered privacy and exclusivity. The building's amenities were robust: secure doors, security cameras, and an occasional doorman to monitor activity. Tonight, however, the foyer was empty, and the cold air followed them in as they stepped through the doors. The couple entered the elevator, pressing the button for the top floor. The smooth ascent was a relief from the bitter cold outside. The wife sighed as she leaned against the wall, eager to kick off her heels. The husband smiled at her, equally relieved to be heading home. The familiar chime signaled their arrival, and the elevator doors opened to a quiet, dimly lit hallway. As they turned the corner toward their suite, the wife paused, squinting at a figure in the hallway. A woman stood at the far end, hunched over, her dark, disheveled hair covering her face. Her black lace dress was torn, and she appeared to be barefoot. "Who is that?" the wife whispered, her grip tightening on her husband's arm. He shook his head, equally perplexed. The woman was slowly dragging herself along the wall, her movements disjointed and erratic. Occasionally, she stopped at a door and leaned forward to peer into the peephole. "She must be drunk," the husband said, though his voice betrayed his unease. The wife frowned. "But who is she? I've never seen her before." The two stood frozen, watching the strange figure as she continued her unsettling routine. She seemed unaware of their presence, stopping at another door and pressing her face close to the peephole. She let out a sound, a low hum mixed with a guttural growl that sent chills down their spines. "Should we ask if she needs help?" the wife whispered, though she was hesitant to approach the woman. "Let's wait. She might just be lost," the husband replied, his voice barely audible. For several minutes, they observed her from a distance, hoping she would eventually find her way or leave. But her erratic behavior only became more alarming. She moved to the door of an elderly neighbor they were fond of, Tilly, a kind woman they often helped with groceries and small tasks. The wife felt a pang of worry as the woman leaned into Tilly's peephole. "No, this isn't right," she said aloud. "We have to say something." She stepped forward, raising her voice. "Excuse me, are you okay? Do you need help?" The woman froze, her body stiffening. The wife felt a pang of worry as the woman leaned into Tilly's peephole. "No, this isn't right," she said aloud. "We have to say something." She stepped forward, raising her voice. "Excuse me, are you okay? Do you need help?" The woman froze, her body stiffening as if startled. Slowly, she sank to the floor, crouching on all fours. "What is she doing?" the husband muttered, his voice filled with alarm. Then came the laughter, a low, menacing cackle that barely escaped her lips. It grew louder and more unnatural, mixing with growls that sounded inhuman. The wife instinctively reached for her phone, her hands trembling. "Hey," the husband called out. "What are you doing?" The woman abruptly stood, her movements sharp and unnatural. She turned to face them, revealing dark, sunken eyes and a twisted grin that sent a wave of terror through the couple. She let out a loud, guttural growl and started pounding on the door of their suite. Fists struck the wood with alarming force, and she screamed incoherent words that echoed through the hallway. "Call the police," the husband said, his voice trembling. The wife dialed 911, struggling to explain the situation to the operator as the woman continued her relentless pounding. Suddenly, the woman stopped. She dropped to the floor, crawling toward them with unnatural speed. "What the hell?" the husband said, stepping backward. The woman looked up briefly, her mouth stained black, before letting out a guttural hiss that sent the couple fleeing toward the stairwell. They ran down 2 flights before stopping to catch their breath, listening for any sign that she had followed. For several minutes, they stayed in the stairwell, their hearts racing. When they finally mustered the courage to return, the hallway was empty. The door to their suite bore marks from where the woman had struck it, but she was gone. The wife asked, "What do we do now?"